and welcome to this episode of Framlingham College in Conversation. I'm Mel Lewis, Director of External Relations at the college, and we're here today in this episode to talk about music at Framlingham. And I'm joined by Director of Music at the college, Lucy Bloore, Director of Music at St Mary Le Tower, Chris Borrett, and also two of our pupils, Catherine and Finlay, who actually sing as part of the St Mary Le Tower choir. We'll get straight into it, Lucy. Can you tell me a little bit about how the relationship between Framlingham College and St Mary Le Tower came about and the benefits to our pupils as well?
That's a huge question. The relationship came about really because I knew of the reputation of St Mary Le Tower and also of Chris's reputation as a singing teacher. And I think when we first met, it was Chris came up to have a chat about possibly coming and teaching here and possibly taking a choir here as well. And I think we both kind of realised that was maybe not the right time for that, but it was always just a little seed was planted, an idea was planted between the two of us. And Chris was great in terms of encouraging us to send our young people to join in with him. So it just kind of grew over a year or two, I think. But quite quickly you were saying, does so-and-so want to come and sing? They're really welcome. And the main thing was they were made to feel incredibly welcome and really part of this amazing experience. So it was a very easy and no-brainer, really, from our point of view. The benefits for our pupils are that they are receiving a really top quality choral training. They have to show commitment. It's a really serious commitment, and it goes on through the holidays as well. So it's not just something that belongs in term time. They become part of St Mary Le Tower, and I think for them that's not only musically really enriching, but also spiritually. I think it's a really important part of it. So they sing every week in services. They rehearse every week as well, and they obviously sing in the high days and holidays, the important times like Christmas and Easter, and other important events and concerts. But for me, as a director of music, I can see the huge benefit in terms of the sight singing, the repertoire that they're getting through, the quality of the training that they're getting. It hugely impacts upon then the quality of what we have in school. So our choristers from St Mary Le Tower are really amazing leaders in our choirs as well. And the benefit for us has been that our other students have kind of started to raise their game because they can see what can be done. And we have grown the numbers as well of pupils who are now taking part. So it's, as I say, it's a no-brainer, win-win entirely. And we couldn't be happier with being part of our, trying to get this partnership together.
So we've obviously got a number of pupils here at the college who are wonderful singers, and I suspect that this relationship then is expanding our ability to support singers of all different genres, just making sure that they have the opportunity to really follow their passion.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very strong choral tradition. It is very classical by nature. It suits a certain type of musician, I would say, but it's exciting to see how far they're now going. I mean, singing in this school has always been strong, but we're now producing top quality students who can sing as soloists, can perform as soloists in huge venues. They're also taking part in kind of national choirs. They're actually seeing the big world out there, and that's most of it is due to St Mary Le Tower, I have to say. I've seen the benefit in terms of how they're ready at the end of year 13. If they do want to go on to study singing, the skills they have make it just a super easy transition. But it's not all about students who want to become singers. It's actually also about students who want to excel and want to take pride in what they're doing. And they feel a real sense of community within the choir. So as you do with any team that you're in, but, as I say, if we look at it black and white, actually, from the technical points of view, it's an amazing training and it's a gift to be able to have that on our doorstep, really.
So, Chris, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Could you then tell us a little bit about your background? Obviously, Lucy mentioned being a singing teacher and coming into the college to support in that way, but it would be really interesting to hear about your background, how you got involved with St Mary Le Tower and then as a result have helped this partnership to develop.
Yeah, I was very lucky at school. I went to a boarding school similar to Framlingham, and I sang all the way through from year 4 through to year 13, voice changing in the middle. So I managed to sing probably every single part in the choir over a course of 10 years. And then I was lucky enough to get a scholarship to New College, Oxford. And then I spent a year before that going to sing as a lay clerk at Tewkesbury Abbey in Gloucestershire, which was lovely. And it gave me the opportunity to sort of find my feet vocally and as a grown-up, I suppose. And then I went off to university. I did a music degree there. And then after that, I was awarded a place on the Monteverdi Choir apprenticeship scheme. And that may not mean much to some people, but to put it in context, Gramophone magazine voted them the best choir in the world in 2011 when I was singing for them. I'm not sure it was to do with me particularly, but it was nice to be surrounded by amazing colleagues. And that took me around the world. I went to the west coast of America, east coast of America, all the way around Europe, singing amazing concerts. I sang at the Nobel Peace Prize award-winning concert. And it gave me an amazing sort of outlook on life because you saw so many different cultures. I got to learn to sing in lots of different languages. I got to sing opera. So I managed to sing in Paris, singing in an opera. And then what happens in many people's lives is that children came along. And my wife and I decided that I couldn't really cavort around the world anymore. And I looked for some opportunities in East Anglia, where we were settled, and the job at St Mary Tower came up. And I'd done conducting before, and I'd been a singing teacher in various schools as well. And I thought, this is a real opportunity. There was work to be done there, and I've been there 8 years now, and it's really sort of hitting its stride, I would say, in the last few years. And it's great because it allows me to meet children from all walks of life. I go into schools, primary schools across Ipswich and East Suffolk, and I try and encourage them to explore being a chorister. And then I'm lucky enough to have kids coming along, and I train them up, and they improve very quickly usually. And then I've got pupils who are recommended to me in schools such as Framlingham. And Lucy has always put a great emphasis on committing people to St Mary Tower because, she said, it works both ways. We benefit from strong musicians that are in Framlingham's music department, and then thankfully they can take it back to their choirs at school, and that goes for every chorister in the choir. And it's not just for those who are going to be musicians all their lives. I mean, I often say to parents that it's the ability to sort of react under pressure, whether it's singing, performing, it kind of prepares them for their first interview. That idea of being put front and center, and they've occupied that sort of mind space before that they have to perform for the next 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or they have to sit still. That's a great benefit for the little choristers of learning how to sit still. But it has so many multifaceted sort of benefits that it's a no-brainer.
So what ages of children do you take within?
So they start at pretty much year 4, and sometimes year 3 if they are very good at sitting still, and show great promise. But we divide the choir into 3 soprano sections. We have the boy choristers, so they sing from around year 3, year 4 until their voices change. And then we have the girl choristers, who again start at year 4 and go right the way to year 13. But I do slightly, I rehearse them in 2 different ways because the younger ones need a lot more rehearsal because they need to learn to read music, they need to learn how to breathe and use their body and sing using the right vowels. Then you get to the older sort of teenagers, key stage 3 and above, who I treat as mini professionals. They've got to know the basics and they are expected to read music relatively fluently, and I expect a lot of them. But then they thrive with that responsibility, is my experience. And then I have adults who sing in the choir as well, and the boys whose voices have changed. Whenever that happens, they then join the adult men singing alto, tenor and bass. And that gives opportunity for them to keep their singing going after the voices change.
Excellent. Well, we are lucky to have with us two of our college pupils who have benefited from this relationship with St Mary Le Tower, Catherine and Finlay. Thank you very much for both being here. Catherine, tell me, what age did you start singing?
I started having lessons in year 7 because my sister sings as well, and she was a big influence, but quite competitive. So I wasn't allowed to sing until year 7. And then I progressed through the grades quite quickly. And so I haven't been singing that long, I suppose.
But you've certainly got an amazing voice that we have all been lucky enough to being able to hear you perform many times at the college. How did you get involved with St Mary Le Tower, and can you tell me a little bit about how that experience has supported you in your love of singing, but also where you want to take your singing?
When I came to Framlingham, I came to do a music scholarship, and as part of my scholarship, Mr. Borrett was at my audition as well. So I did a mini audition for St Mary Le Tower at the same time, because I came from a cathedral school which had choristers, but only at the time for the boys. It's changed now, but and seeing the boys singing that kind of music, I really wanted to get into it as well. So the opportunity became available at Framlingham, and I now am looking to have a career in music, which I never previously thought. I think I was thinking more medicine or history before, definitely not anymore. And my music, general understanding of music has gotten better very quickly from being in the choir. And I used to be terrible at sight reading, but I think the pressure of having to sight read.
Should we call it the opportunity of having lots of music to sight read puts you in a position where you just have to do it?
Yeah.
Well, you have the tools to do it, and then it's just the opportunity. So we would get through about 10 different pieces of music per week, whereas other choirs probably far less than that. It was just the nature of the choir, but yeah.
Lucy, that must make you feel actually quite proud to hear Catherine say that, she has changed her view on where her career could go in terms of being able to sing as a result of what we do here at the college in our relationship with people like Chris.
I do think anyway music is transformative. I mean, it has an incredible effect on young people's lives. But certainly someone like Catherine, who has clearly got an extremely beautiful voice and a talent, but also a connection with music. For me, it would be criminal if she didn't do music, but it's lovely for that to be something that she's now committing her future to. And it certainly is because she's comfortable. She sees herself as a singer because that's what she does every week. And obviously there is a lot of music going on in school. She does sing in choirs in school, and she sings. She also plays marimba in the orchestra, because as a singer, she's thrown herself into learning about music from all different angles. So she's also committed to giving up her time to do hard work in lots of different areas. But I think it's, there's something very, what's the word? There's something very public about standing up in a choir such as St Mary Le Tower, and not being in school and being in front of a different audience every week, really, which I think has given her the confidence to realise she can do it. And also, like you say, I can see in rehearsals the change in Catherine in terms of sight reading. Sight reading is such a huge skill for any musician, because if you can read and you can make the sound instantly, then you're connected. You understand you understand your instrument really well. And I think that's been a huge boost. And that is something that, we can't get through 10 different pieces of music a week with the rehearsals that we have. It's that kind of stuff is brilliant. So yeah, it does make me really proud. Yeah. Mm.
And coming to you, Finlay, year 13, about to fly the Framlingham College nest. You've got quite an exciting next step of your journey, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm doing a singing degree as of this coming September, which is really exciting. I only started having singing lessons, 2 years ago, this academic year, so start of year 11. And I'd always been singing, I'd always done choirs, things like that, always been involved in music, but I never sort of did it like rigorously. I never did it as an instrument that I viewed something that I play. I was like, I sing, I do bits. But then I think sort of starting singing in the choir and doing more singing really made me realise that's what I want to do. Because I mean, up until really recently, I hadn't made my mind up for what I do next year. I thought, I'd go to music college for a different instrument. Before that, I thought I'd do architecture. I sort of never really thought of singing, and it was always there, and it's sort of strange that I never thought it. But then one day I was like, no, I'll do singing, and then like sort of, as Mrs. Bloore said, committing yourself to that and being, that's what I'm going to do. That then makes you much more involved with it when you do it. So like from the moment I decided I was going to do singing, I enjoyed and sort of got more immersed in my singing much more, just because I was like, this is what I'm going to do and I love it, and I sort of need to do it to the best ability I can.
So you're being quite modest. Can you just tell everyone who's listening where you're actually going to go and do?
I'm going to the Royal Academy of Music in London next year to do an undergraduate vocal studies degree.
And what do you think, in terms of Catherine's obviously said about thinking about a career in singing, from what you do there, what do you think is your aspirations for next steps?
I think big picture is probably going to go, hopefully, fingers crossed, down the sort of soloist route. But I mean, you always sing in choirs, and I think doing things like St Mary Tower have really helped, especially when I then go and do other choirs outside of school, because I have this sort of constant, like regular immersion with choral music. Then going to do it with, other people who are really talented, sing to a really high level. It really helps because you sort of have this experience and this wisdom really when it comes to choral singing.
Because Lucy, you touched on being part of a team when you sing as part of a choir. And Chris, I think I've had conversations with people as well, talking about it's not just about singing. There's many life skills that you can learn by being part of a wider group of people coming together for a common purpose.
Yeah, and they apply to different age groups. So as I said before, the little ones, it's the ability to concentrate for long periods of time. And say we were doing, we've done CD recordings, that ability to be absolutely silent so you don't drop a pencil when the microphone's are live. And it might sound glib saying it like that, but actually it does have benefits later in life. I mean, one of the famous examples is the ex-England cricket captain, Alistair Cook, who used to be a chorister at St Paul's. And he was known for being able to bat for a very, very long time. And he said he learned to concentrate by being a chorister. And that focus came from being a chorister. But then it's also about learning to inhabit your body and how you present to yourself. So both Finley and Catherine have both done lots of solos for me. Some of them quite sort of exposed and sort of with an orchestra behind them. So they've had to really learn to how to not only use their body physically, but how to feel comfortable out there. And, it's, again, that sort of moment of pressure and how to deal with it. It so happens they deal with it incredibly well. So it's a very, very, but people have to learn that process, and you only get to know where your boundaries are by going to them. And for the adults, because the adults, it's constantly using the brain and keeping the you have to be sort of intellectually fit, as it were, in order to keep up with the kids, because they're no slouches. They're really not, and it keeps me on my toes as well.
So you mentioned that both Catherine and Finley, you've both had to do solos. Do you still get nervous when you perform?
Yeah, definitely, but sort of learn how to deal with it and how to cope with it, because the nerves are always there, but it's not letting them just sort of take control.
I think I don't really feel nervous anymore before singing. I used to get really nervous, but then immediately afterwards want to do it again. But I just sort of go and do it and enjoy it and don't feel like shut down from like shaking. It's just enjoying singing, so I don't feel nervous anymore.
And being able to be part of St Mary Le Tower has obviously given you more and more opportunities to be in front of audiences and to develop that kind of confidence and ability to really live out your performances, I guess. But then being part of a wider team must also be really nice as well. Can you tell me a little bit about the benefits that you've seen individually as people from being part of that group?
Well, the sort of section that I sit with and sing with is pretty much just sort of men, middle-aged men, and me, and then sort of 1 or 2 other teenage boys. And it's nice to sort of have that regular connection with people of a different generation. Because, I mean, if you spend all your time with other 17, 18-year-olds, you can get stuck in that sort of like teenage like mindset. But I think doing so much with older, like wiser people can really help you.
They'll be very pleased to hear you say that.
Because when I moved, I only moved up to Suffolk recently in the last, I think, 3 or 4 years. And I moved up during COVID, so I didn't have like any friends up here. So St Maryl's Tower helped me to like make friends, and like some good, like strong relationships, which I think I will hold for longer, like even once I've left St Maryl's Tower. So it was nice because singing sort of brings you together, and I found that with other choirs out of school, it feels really good to be able to sort of nerd out about music and not be thought that you're weird for like knowing so many particular details about one thing to do with like one piece of music, so you can like relate in what you like.
Amazing. Is that what you think you've enjoyed the most about being part of St Maryl's Tower?
Yeah, it's like a sense of community.
Lucy, I think what struck me as well, and being not in any way immersed in this kind of environment, is actually this opportunity to be able to sing at such a high level with such professional training is very rare, especially where we live here in Suffolk.
Yeah, absolutely. The choir at St Maryl's Tower really rival any cathedral choir. The training is immense. It's such a great setup for what is actually quite a small church in size and funding and all that kind of stuff. You know, what is going on is really unusual. And I know the choir recently went on tour to York, and their performances in York Cathedral, well, their singing in York Cathedral, you know, was applauded. I don't want to kind of badmouth anyone, but, you know, almost better than a lot of cathedral choirs than you would hear. So I think people would be surprised. I think it's easy to think this is just a little church and they're going to sing in a little choir. And that's just not what this is. This is a really seriously good musical education. And I think it's you only have to go to hear it to understand that, or buy their CD. They have a really great CD.
What is important about what Lucy's saying is the fact that the church has, over the last 8 years or so since I've been there, we've been trying to sort of grow in sort of the ability to help and minister to other people musically in East Suffolk. And having great musicians and support from Framlingham College makes that so much easier. But it's one of those things that, you know, musically we sing within our church walls, and hopefully it sounds all right. But what we're able to do is to do workshops and to go into lots of state primary schools which don't have any music provision. And later next month, July, we've got some workshops in the middle of Ipswich, where they'll be playing djembe drums and singing world music. But also as part of that, some of our older choral scholars, so the likes of Catherine, will come along and sing to these kids. I don't know what you're going to sing. It's something like some show tune or something. So it's not nothing particularly churchy, but say, actually, you know, this is sort of like the example of the journey you could be on. And I think that's what's nice about what we're doing. That's what I'm really proud of what we're doing. It's not just the nice music, but the fact we're able to give back to the community in East Suffolk.
Mm. And Finlay and Catherine, we'll finish off, which is my question to you, is it's actually quite a commitment that you have to take upon yourselves to become and actually make sure that you commit to being part of St Maryl's Tower. I assume, though, because both of you are such great singers and because you have such great passion for music, that doesn't feel like a chore to you. But what would you say to people who are considering taking the same step that you have, but worrying about how many hours they might have to spend putting into it?
I think when you compare it to, anything you do outside of school, whether it's a sports team, whether it's like a drama studio, that kind of thing, it all takes time. But when you enjoy it, and it's something good for you as well, it doesn't feel like that much time. But I think it's not actually a ridiculous amount of hours at all. It's, an hour or so rehearsing during the week, and then a service or two, depending on what part of the day you're doing it on a Sunday, and then the odd sort of, special high day, holiday, concert. But I think once you really get into it and you start doing it and you start to enjoy it, it doesn't feel like a commitment, more just sort of a pastime, I guess, that you do.
Catherine, would you say the same?
Yeah. I think at times it's certainly tiring, but the enjoyment makes it not painful. You're not struggling that you're tired. You're tired, but it's an acknowledgement of the fact you're working hard.
I guess the reason I ask that is because knowing how packed a day pupils at Framlingham College already have, it's an extra thing. But again, I think you've both stated very clearly that it doesn't feel like that because it's something that's a passion of yours and also so very beneficial for you. Chris, before we wrap up, is there anything else that you'd like people to know about St Mary Le Tower, or anything that people should be looking out for in terms of coming to watch, listen to? Lucy's mentioned the CD.
Blimey. Next academic year is going to be very busy. We've got concerts, lots around Christmas. Actually, I'm running an Advent festival in St Michael's Church in Framlingham, which school choirs are going to be part of at Framlingham College. So that's very exciting. I believe we're going to be on the radio, on Radio 3, BBC Radio 3 at some stage. And there are various things in the pipeline, so hopefully another recording, but this is not signed on the dotted line yet.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all ever so much for joining us on this episode. It's been really great to talk to you all and hear about your experiences. And I'm sure this won't be the last time that we talk about the relationship between the college and St Mary Le Tower. But thank you. And Vinny, I wish you all the best in your next endeavours. And Catherine, I can't wait to keep hearing you sing. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.